headlines of this hour on VTV News. Newly elected party chief chairs meeting of party and state leaders in Hanoi. And Vietnamese stock market bounces back after a plunge on Monday. In our world news, Bangladesh dissolves parliament after the prime minister left the country.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Good morning, it is 8 a.m. local time in Hanoi and you're watching VTV News. I'm Huynh Trân with the top stories. Newly elected Party General Secretary Tô Lâm, who is also the state president of Vietnam, chaired a meeting of party and state leaders in Hanoi on Tuesday to review work done in July and outline tasks for August and the coming months.
At the meeting, Chairman of the Party Central Committee Office reported that in July, the Party Central Committee addressed many major and important issues on party building and rectification, socio-economic development, defense, security and foreign affairs, social policies, and especially measures to help support people in areas affected by natural disasters and earthquakes. All the set targets and tasks were essentially completed. The Party Central Committee, the Politburo, and the party's secretariat organized a solemn state funeral for Party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng, who passed away in Hanoi on July the 19th at the age of 80. Immediately afterwards, the Party Central Committee held a plenum to elect the new party chief of the 2021 to 2026 term to ensure continuous leadership, direction, and administration of the country. Speaking at the meeting, Party General Secretary and State President Tô Lâm requested that the party and the entire political system review and work out measures to complete the remaining work of the year quickly and effectively. He stressed the need to make thorough preparations for grassroots-level party congresses in the lead-up to the 14th National Party Congress due to take place in early 2026, including summarizing theoretical and practical issues of implementing the đổi mới or renewal process in Vietnam over the past nearly 4 decades. With regard to socio-economic development tasks, he underscored the importance of removing difficulties, obstacles, and bottlenecks to facilitate business and investment operations.
Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính on Tuesday presided over the inaugural meeting of the steering committee tasked with conducting a review of the 20-year government apparatus model from the 12 to 15 tenures.
As head of a steering committee, Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính underlined the importance of reforming the government's organization and operations. He said that the objective is to create a streamlined, efficient, and effective apparatus and ultimately make the state administrative apparatus people-oriented, law government, professional, and modern. The Prime Minister requested a detailed roadmap for the review to be due by December 31, 2024. He stressed the responsibilities must be assigned, specifying individuals, clear tasks, responsibilities, timelines, and deliverables throughout the review process. The Prime Minister requested a comprehensive review of the government's functions, structure, and operations over the past 20 years, focusing on its interactions with political system agencies. The review should adhere to political and legal bases, assess achievements and challenges, address overlaps in state management, and propose improvements for efficiency. It should include clear tasks, deadlines, and responsibilities for ministries and agencies. The Prime Minister also suggested comparing with similar countries' government models and assigned Deputy Prime Minister Trần Lưu Quang to oversee the process.
On Tuesday, Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính met with Japanese Defense Minister Kihara Minoru, who is visiting Vietnam. The Prime Minister underscored Vietnam's commitment to deepening its comprehensive strategic partnership with Japan and suggested continued high-level exchanges. He encouraged increased Japanese investment in Vietnam and technology transfer, as well as enhanced cooperation in management, human resource training, and economic connectivity. The Prime Minister also urged Japan to ease access for Vietnamese agricultural products, promote New Generation Official Development Assistance, or ODA, and support the Vietnamese community in Japan. Minister Kihara Minoru stated that the visit aims to strengthen the friendly relations between the two countries and to advance mutual defense cooperation. Earlier, Minister of Defense General Phan Van Giang hosted a welcoming ceremony for and held talks with Japan's Defense Minister Kihara Minoru. The two sides agreed to advance defense cooperation and facilitate delegation exchanges at all levels, while also maintaining effective annual dialogue and consultation mechanisms. They also committed to enhancing training cooperation, collaboration between military services, and joint efforts in the defense industry, technology transfer, addressing war consequences, and participating in United Nations peacekeeping operations. Additionally, both sides agreed to strengthen consultation and coordination within multilateral frameworks. National Assembly Chairman Trần Thanh Mẫn chaired a meeting in Hanoi on Tuesday to review preparations for the Q&A session at the 36th meeting of the National Assembly Standing Committee. The session, slated for August 21st and the morning of August 22nd, marks the first time during the 15th tenure that the National Assembly Standing Committee will combine a Q&A with a review of the implementation of the Standing Committee's resolutions on thematic supervision and questioning. It will delve into agriculture and rural development, industry and trade, justice, home affairs, security, social safety and order, inspectorates, courts, and prosecution. The National Assembly Chairman asked the National Assembly General Secretary and the National Assembly Office to further refine the documents and prepare the draft resolution for the Q&A session. Vietnam's benchmark VN Index rose 1.87% on Tuesday, returning to a key sentimental level after plunging to a 3-month low on Monday due to negative developments in the U.S. and Asian stock markets. The recovery on Tuesday shows that the Vietnamese stock market has its own characteristics in terms of a listed business structure, leading to internal factors driving the market.
Vietnam's benchmark VN Index rose by 22.21 points to 1,210.28 points on Tuesday after dropping 48.53 points in the previous session. Liquidity reached 613 million shares, equivalent to 92% of the average of the last 20 sessions. After the Japanese yen's recent fluctuations, Japan's main stock index, Nikkei 225, fell more than 12%, the sharpest decline since Black Monday, October 1987. A series of stock markets from the US to Europe also tumbled, while VN Index lost nearly 4%.
So what we saw from yesterday, with the dollar going down a lot already, it dropped I think 0.7% yesterday. We saw that the dong actually strengthened to 25,100. Now the market is saying the Fed's going to cut 2 or 3 times this year. So we're actually increasing our base case forecast for the VN Index.
According to statistics from Vina Capital, the profits of 95% of listed businesses achieved an average growth of 20.6% in the first half of the year, and it is likely to continue to maintain high growth momentum in the second half, creating internal attractiveness in the stock market.
We changed the profit expectations of listed companies for the whole year of 2024 to above 20% and around 20% 2025, which shows that the Vietnamese economy is developing well, and businesses, especially list ones, are recovering strongly.
The statistics of markets recently upgraded from marginal to emerging show that all of them have an increasing trend in the 6 months before the official upgrade. For example, if Vietnam were upgraded in March 2025, the rising wave would appear from September to March.
Experts say that the macroeconomy and the stock market have shown potential in the medium and long term. But investors need to be careful, because somewhere there are still hidden risks of fluctuations from world markets.
The past 7 months' result shows that Vietnam continues to be an attractive destination for foreign investors. Both registered and implemented FDI have continued to increase compared to the same period last year by 10.9% and 8.4% respectively. Many large-scale, high-quality projects in the processing and manufacturing sectors are expanding their investments in Vietnam.
With a total investment of $90 million USD on an area of 8 hectares, this factory is to be a production center for a U.S. corporation in Vietnam.
We are not only meeting domestic consumption demand, but are also exporting to Southeast Asia and Asia-Pacific regions, including difficult markets like Australia and Japan. In the next 10 years, we aim to double our capacity.
According to foreign business associations, industrial parks and ready-built factories are in high demand among European and U.S. enterprises. For instance, Hanoi province has 10 industrial zones and clusters approved for investment. Occupancy rates in many zones reaches over 90%.
We are focusing on speeding up infrastructure investment processes, especially the infrastructure connecting Hanoi industrial parks with national expressways and railways. This helps investors reduce production costs and product prices and enhances competitiveness.
Integrated infrastructure is facilitating the shift of FDI capital. Statistics show that in the past 7 months, new FDI registered capital and the number of FDI projects have both increased. Notably, the average investment capital per project is more than 5.9 million USD, higher than the 4.9 million USD per project in the same period last year.
FDI interest and consistent FDI inflows into Vietnam, and a large part of it has poured into the manufacturing sector, which is, one of the main pillar growth sectors here in Vietnam.
We are expecting from the authority that they will go, as they have already started to do, on the sustainable development, which is the key driver.
The advantages from free trade agreements are creating significant leverage for Vietnam to attract more FDI and boost exports. However, Vietnam needs to improve its business environment, administrative procedures, and develop infrastructure and human resources to make the most of this investment flow.
Coming up next on VTV News. Imbai seeks to mitigate damages from flood discharge. And social policy credit promoted to reduce poverty. Welcome back to VTV News. Now, after the Thác Bà hydro power plant discharged floodwaters at 2 p.m. on Tuesday, 49 houses were flooded, while 30 wood peeling workshops and 48 hectares of agricultural and forestry land were damaged in In Bình district. Imbai provincial authorities and local residents are making efforts to mitigate the flood discharge's impacts.
Flooding has impacted crops and washed away some poultry of several households in Ma village.
Several flood discharges have occurred before, but never as severe as this. The family was not prepared for the flow to flush down so quickly.
Flood mitigation efforts has been urgently carried out. Around 200 officers and locals have participated in rescue operations, helping to relocate residents and move properties to a safe place. Currently, the water level in flooded areas of the district has dropped by more than 1 meter from its peak.
We focus human resources to relocate properties and warn people of deep flooded areas and short-circuit risks to ensure their safety.
The authorities are promptly being informed of the constant updates on water volume in the reservoir.
Currently, Thác Bà hydropower plant is still discharging water at the rate of 1,800 cubic meters per second. According to the Water Resources Management Department, the discharge was limited from its peak of 2,100 cubic meters per second. Without this regulation, the inflow would have been larger, resulting in more severe flooding.
Now, as of 3 p.m. Tuesday, August 6, the Tuyên Quang and Sơn La hydropower reservoirs have each closed one of their bottom discharge gates. Consequently, the four major hydropower reservoirs in northern Vietnam still have a total of 11 discharge gates open. Specifically, Sơn La and Tuyên Quang reservoirs each have 2 gates open. Hòa Bình has 4 gates open and Thác Bà has 3 gates open. The floodwaters in the lower reaches of the Red River are expected to rise, while the risk of flash floods and landslides remains high. In recent days, the East Sea dike in the border section between Bạc Liêu and Sóc Trăng provinces in Vĩnh Trạch Đông commune of Bạc Liêu City has been experiencing a severe erosion. The dike could collapse at any moment. Now, due to the high risk of dike collapse, the Bạc Liêu Province Steering Committee for Natural Disaster Prevention and Search and Rescue convened at an urgent meeting on Tuesday. Provincial leaders decided to declare a state of emergency for the East Sea dike. Local authorities are also assessing vulnerable dike sections to prepare for a potential disaster prevention. It's been 10 years since Vietnam began implementing Directive number 40 of the Party Central Committee Secretariat and Conclusion number 06 of the Secretariat dated June 10, 2021 on strengthening the party's leadership on social policy credit. The state's financial resources to provide preferential loans to poor households and policy beneficiaries have been deployed effectively in many localities. Join us in the following story to see an example in the difficult mountainous district of Quy Hợp, Nghệ An province.
Nam's old house is now being used as a cattle barn next to her new spacious house. After receiving loans 3 times from the district's policy bank from a poor household in a particularly difficult commune, her family has now escaped poverty and has the foundation to maintain a stable life.
Now we have 3 hectares of forest land to manage, so it's been better lately. My husband has been working as a driver to earn more income. I stay at home and raise cattle. We received guidance on how to apply for loans. It took us only a month from applying to receiving the money.
With 3 loans from the policy for poor households in 10 years and his talent for stone carving, Theo now has his own workshop. The loans provided him with the opportunity to earn more income and have a stable life.
I got a loan of 30 million VND in 2014. I spent a 10 million to buy a buffalo and put the rest into buying tools for stone carving. Thanks to the loans, I opened a small shop that's been the fulcrum of my development. I have now escaped poverty and have good income compared to the other households in the area.
According to data from Quy Hợp District Bank for Social Policies, from 2014, more than 45,000 poor households and other policy beneficiaries in the district have received policy loans. As of April 30th, 2024, the total loan amount has reached over $30 million, more than double the number before the implementation of Directive 40, helping the poverty rate in Quy Hợp District decrease from 22.05% in 2014 to 11.68% by the end of 2023.
The District Party Committee has organized inspections of the implementation of social policy credit programs and has set specific targets and criteria for evaluating. Every quarter, the District Party Committee listens to the reports on budget allocation and implementation results, thereby providing directions to the People's Committees of districts and communes and other organizations.
Social policy credit requires leadership and direction from party committees and authorities at all levels so that the implementation process can be effective and reach the right subject, contributing to the successful implementation of social security and poverty reduction.
Traditionally reserved for important ceremonies, 5-tone music or ngũ âm remains vibrant and deeply captivating for the Khmer community in southern Vietnam. Now, for many, becoming a member of a 5-tone musical ensemble is a dream and a source of pride. As a result, local 5-tone music classes have attracted a growing number of learners. They are enthusiastic not only because of the enchanting sounds and a free tuition, but also because of the cherished values in their traditional music.
These workers really enjoy learning. They clock in for class at around 5 p.m. every day, even on weekends. They all want to preserve the essence of 5-tone music and bring it to local festivals. I was beyond happy when my lessons came through. I do struggle a little when they can't understand what I say, but that doesn't stop me.
I'm not a natural at this, but I gave it my best shot. I really like it and want to become better at it.
I knew next to nothing about 5-tone music before enrolling. I don't know how to play the instrument. I only follow what the instructor does. I don't even know if I'm doing it right.
Running this class was such a challenging task. It was somewhat easier to teach children because they are naturally fast learners. Construction workers are different because they have their own jobs to do outside of class. They can only attend after they finish work. It wasn't easy. I had to drill the basics into them step by step. I can only ease up a bit after they've managed to memorize the tone.
During the day, I work to bring food to the table. After sunset, I hold on to the instruments to bring me joy. What I learn will become a part of me and be handy when I need to perform. Once you've memorized something, you are not afraid of losing it.
Coming up next in our world news. Bangladesh dissolves parliament after the prime minister left the country. And U.S. completes withdrawal from last base in Niger. Now moving on to our world news, the president of Bangladesh's office announced on Tuesday that the country's parliament was dissolved, a day after Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina resigned and left the country. Over 400 people have died since protests erupted early last month, leaving the country in a complicated political situation. Now amid the unrest, but the Bangladesh Police Association declared on Tuesday that it will strike until the safety of all police members is ensured. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres and the European Union on Monday called for calm and restraint from all parties in the country, emphasizing the importance of a peaceful and orderly transition. The International Monetary Fund affirmed its commitment to Bangladesh to ensure the country's economic stability. The Pentagon announced Monday that the U.S. has completed a withdrawal from its last base in Niger. The U.S. forces turned over control of Airbase 201 in the city of Agadez, one of the two key bases for U.S. counter-terrorism operations in Niger, to local authorities. The U.S. military also withdrew from Airbase 101 last month. The U.S. deployed forces in Niger as part of its counter-insurgency efforts. However, the coup in Niger in July last year allowed Niger's military to topple the civilian-led government, thus ending the military cooperation agreement with Washington. Now, in May this year, the U.S. and Niger reached an agreement for the U.S. to withdraw its troops from the West African country. The District Court for the District of Columbia recently concluded that Google violated antitrust laws in its search and text advertising services. This landmark decision could change how the tech giant operates in the current internet era. Now, the court sided with the U.S. Department of Justice accusation. This asserts that Google overpowered its competitors and maintained its monopoly by paying billions of dollars to major tech partners to set Google as the default search engine on web browsers and smartphones. These agreements made Google's search engine the first choice users encountered, maintaining advertising profits and limiting alternative options for users. This ruling sets the stage for another trial to determine remedies for Google's violations, which could include breaking up the company or stopping Google from making agreements to maintain its dominant position. The recently published financial reports of major tech companies reveal a growing trend in investment in artificial intelligence, or AI. Now, according to a survey of 60 companies in this sector, about 2/3 of them expect their AI investment growth this year to surpass the average of the past 5 years.
New Street Research, a UK-based market research firm, estimates that Alphabet, Meta, Amazon, and Microsoft will collectively spend $104 billion on new AI data centers this year. The total investment in AI data centers from 2024 to 2027 could reach $1.4 trillion if it includes the spending of smaller tech companies and other industries.
We are experiencing a golden era in AI development. Projections indicate that by 2030, semiconductor sales could exceed $1 trillion, a truly substantial figure. Our industry has not yet reached its pinnacle. The best is yet to come. Like any new technology, there is a prolonged incubation period, followed by market testing and eventually explosive development.
AI is our #1 priority, and we're at the beginning of an incredibly exciting time for the industry as AI transforms virtually every business, improves our quality of life, and reshapes every part of the computing market.
The widespread interest in AI is creating a new investment boom in the AI supply chain. Alongside the development of generative AI, tech companies are expanding their cloud computing capabilities, and data centers are sprouting up rapidly. The International Energy Agency forecasts that electricity demand for data centers and AI will double by 2026.
Now let's move on to the weather forecast. And that's all the news we have for this hour. To rewatch our program, you can download our mobile app at VTVgo or check out our YouTube channel, VTV4Go. Thank you for watching and see you next time.